Okay, this is a video review of this Lemorele 10-in-1 USB-C hub. I'm going to open it up, I'm going to show you all the ports up close to the camera, and then we're going to do some data testing to make sure that the speeds are what you'd expect and there's not lower quality components being used in it. Let's get started. Okay, first things first, it's an entirely plastic construction. This is usually done to save costs, but it doesn't necessarily mean they've saved costs on internal components here. It's all labelled at the bottom here, which is good because you want these ports to be labelled. So starting on this side, you've got SD and micro SD. You've got USB-C, that's 3.0, so that's 5 gigabits a second. You've got HDMI just there and power delivery just there. On the other side, you've got, nicely coloured in the correct colours, 2 5 gigabits a second USB 3 ports and 2 USB 2 ports. And at the end here, you've got a network connection as well. I'm assuming this is gigabit, but I'm going to be testing this, and these to make sure that the data speeds are up to scratch. Let's get started with the testing. Oh, before we get started with the testing, let's just see how long that cable is. 21 centimeters, 23.5 if you include the plug. Okay, the hub itself is that big. You can see on the grid how big it is. So we started by testing the USB-C port. This should be about 460-ish, 450, 460 megabytes a second. Yeah, 462 is a perfectly acceptable score for this. So the USB-C port is working at the 5 gigabits a second rate. That's great. Let's move on to the USB 3 Type A port. So we're now checking the USB Type A port. Again, it's USB 3 speed, so 5 gigabits a second is what we expect. So similar speeds to what we just saw. And yep, very similar speeds to what we just saw. Incidentally, I'm testing both of these ports using 10 gigabits a second SSD, so there's no bottlenecks. And it's coming through at the 5 gigabits a second speed. That's no problem. Let's check the SD card speed now. Okay, so we're now testing the micro SD card read speed. If it's a really good card reader, you'd expect in the 90s, a mediocre 130s, and a pretty poor one in the 20s. So it's not a great SD card reader. They've cheaped out a little bit on the SD card reader, and it'll work. It'll transfer photos, no problem, but you aren't going to get very good speeds for transferring it. So if you're planning on getting this for the SD card slot, yeah, it's a slow one. Just for the sake of completeness, I'm testing the USB 2 sockets, but these ports aren't really designed for data transfer, so you're going to get low speeds on these. They're designed for you to plug your mouse, your keyboard, your printer, that kind of thing in. So these speeds of around about 40 megabytes a second, absolutely in keeping with USB 2 ports. No problem with this speed. They're not designed for data transfer. Don't plug your hard drives into these, plug them into the blue ones. Finally, we're testing the Ethernet speeds. I'm using a simple down tester here, transferring a gigabyte file 5 times across my network using this connection. And it would normally be on a gigabit connection somewhere in the region of 400 megabits a second. So this speed here is just over half of what I would normally expect. So it's not the fastest network port either, if you're planning on getting this for network. The key to everything on this hub really is it will do it. It'll do a network connection, even if it's not the best. And this one's averaging, what's that, around about 23 roughly megabits a second. It's not a great score, but you'll get a network connection if you need to use it here. And you know what, you might not really notice unless you're transferring files across your network. You might well not notice this particular speed. So all in all, yeah, it's not a bad little hub. For about 25 quid, you're getting a lot for that. A lot of different ports. None of them are the best, although the USB 3 ones are absolutely fine. We'll finish off by just testing the power delivery, and then we'll stop there. Okay, so we're going to do a power delivery test as the final test. It's currently charging this power bank at around about 18.2 watts. So now we're going to disconnect from here and connect into the power delivery port just here. And we're going to see what kind of difference you get when this hub is in the middle. Does that reduce power delivery? You'd expect it's going to have some sort of reduction on power delivery, but is it going to make a big difference? Let's just wait for a moment and allow this to stabilize. Okay, and I have allowed this to stabilize, and what you might be able to see from this slightly larger display is that the amperage, sorry, the current being drawn is jumping all over the place. It can't stay consistent. It's drawing around about 8.7 watts on average here, 8.8 watts maybe, which is a long way down from what it should be. So power delivery, not a strong feature of this. Again, it will provide power, but it is really jumping around all over the place. It's not going to be a stable amount of power that is delivered to your device there. Conclusions, well, you get a lot for your money. Usually a hub with all of these features would be a lot more expensive, and that's borne out by the testing here. They've obviously used cheaper components in certain parts of this. HDMI test, I did do that off camera. You can't really see it on this, so I didn't bother showing you, but HDMI works okay. USB-C speeds were absolutely fine for data. Similarly with these USB type A ports, all working exactly as you'd expect, full speed for those. Power delivery, not great. SD card reader, not great. Network speeds, not great. But they are there. To get a hub with all of those things on them would normally cost you in around, I would say probably around the £40–45 range. So it's cheaper, and the performance in some of the ports is lower. If you can live with that, it might suit you.
So, hier hätten wir den USB 10 in 1 Hub. Kam gestern an per Post und jetzt hier vorliegend. Der USB-C Hub hat hier nochmal eine Glassichtfolie zum Schutz. Wir hätten hier zwei USB 3.0 Anschlüsse bzw. 3.2, dann nochmal eine USB 3.0 und zweimal USB 2.0. Ein RJ45 Netzwerksteckeranschluss mit den beiden Signal-LEDs für Power und Transmit. Dann hätten wir auf der weiteren Seite einen SD-TF-Kartenslot sowie Micro-SD-TF-Kartenslot sowie einen SD-Kartenslot. Wohlgemerkt SDHC für beide. Hier haben wir einen Data-Transfer für USB-C, einen HDMI-Ausgang mit den höchsten Spezifikationen und dann hätten wir einen Power Delivery Anschluss, sprich also für die Eingangsspannung bis 100 Watt von einem Netzteil, externen Netzteil. Hier der USB-C Anschluss, um diesen am Rechner zu connecten.